Abusuani komo e watchana yi so eri talking point podcast or set trend because big headlines na jembre na yedi bi exumo e wa haksei onua yembo ngura aye Kevin Taylor aksoye na papa yi atimi ameki aye expose bi ya jembre yedi bi exumo no wa check say nana adodankwa akuf ado tama na owo akonya so no Bank of Ghana sika 60 billion dollars bi efa omunsema onua enye asem koto akra eye ka ene baaye isi den ne ka no e baaye a onua Kevin Taylor agimra oboyi nchirima ho behia se ese hu de yekọ ene de yeba best rock say at this point in time yembo enwura aye enseminim na yehwe ne yekọ ene de yeba hye no so me say ahaksei edi talking point yembo enwura aye enseminim
and you betrani edi matama and just say ye didi obi atam mo jimiti ne edi matam. Do you trade in gold than me? Who trade in gold, Jamie? You don't trade in gold more than I trade in gold. Yes. It don't sit there and make it look like saying you are the only people who can say things for things to change. You started trading gold over 20 years and started trading gold. I've been trading gold like 15, 20 years now. You cannot sit there and make it look like say you named any gold market. No. Now this guy, a biochemistry student, Kojo Ponkruma, biochemistry student. And then he's like, the government has been manipulating data to achieve favorable economic data. What does that even mean? Which data is the government manipulating? What is the government manipulating? Data being which data? What is your source? Where is your source? And on what basis? Because when you talk about mop up, and then I must start taking, there was some laws that government of Ghana or Mahama administration or the Bank of Ghana inherited. That loss, how did they get rid of it? When the government comes to power, the NPP left 60 billion loss at the Bank of Ghana. 60 billion. 60 billion. Now, if you want to do mop up, what is mop up? The issue is the more money you have in the system, the probability of you having inflation in your system is high. So sometimes what the NPP did was, because I know Muchesika egu system, a lot of banks had money, but there was so much going on in the system to the point where interest rate was so high, people were not going to the bank for the monies. People were not taking even loans. So the banks were sitting on money, and that was also causing a lot of inflation, because at the end of the day, the people system that's bank. So what do? You need to create space in the economy so that people will be going after the city. Because when there's so much city in the system and you don't mop up the system, what is going to happen is the system is going to choke into ultimate na any value biya. Now, the only way you can get your economy running or you can clean the system is to make sure the city is scarce. Now, the more it is scarce, the more people want to have access to the city, and then the banks get to work with people who want to work with the bank, whether to take loan or to save. So what you do as a government is sometimes you force the banks to withdraw some of the money to the central bank. Now, the central bank will have to keep the money, a policy. The central bank keeps some of the money, and then they create vacuum in the system. Now, those monies the central bank keeps, when the banks need the money, slowly they can start releasing the money slowly into the system. But the central bank will take those money, offloads, that is what we call the mop up. So you create vacuums, then you keep. Then people start to chase the money. Now, when people start to chase the money, you start to release the money to the commercial banks slowly. It's the same money. Then people start to get access to the money. That is the only way you create vacuum for the system to start working. Because of the 60 billion, the Ghana Bank of Ghana Boguano, this government was supposed to do a mop-up. It's a policy. Because when it comes and there's so much money in the banks and the interest rate is high, the lender's rate is high, and the inflation is high, people are not going to go to the bank for the monies. And that is what is going to cause inflation. So now what happens? The system chokes. Now, if you're a government and you are a smart banker, what you do is that you mop the system. Mopping the system does not mean you are hiding the money. You create vacuum in the system for people to chase, because it is only scarcity that is going to make people look for money. People try to come for loan. People try to save. Until when it creates that vacuum, that is when you are able to mop the system, to recalibrate the system, to bring it back. And that is what the Bank of Ghana did now. Nobody's manipulating any system. Nobody's manipulating anything. Nobody's touching anything. The system is running by itself. Data ni manipulate. The same people saying say Baomia effort na data no system ni koye. Ade be chena so catch say system no be manipulate. What is what? This is the idiot. Listen to him. These foolish people.
You would recall that we have always insisted that the methods, Mr. President, the methods that this administration is using to achieve the numbers that they are publishing to you, those methods should be interrogated. But we have always said that it's not enough for your child to go to town and come back home with a brand new car for you to be happy. You need to examine the method with which the child brought that car and ask yourself, is it sustainable? Is it an appropriate method? So take inflation. We have consistently said that the method they are using to bring inflation down is sterilization. What sterilization means is that they mop up money from the system, because if people don't have money in their pocket, they can't exercise what we call in economics effective demand. And if they can't demand, prices will either stay where they are, or you, the seller, at a point will decide, let me reduce my prices and get rid of the stock. Now, we told you that in 2025, they sterilized about 62 billion cedis from the economy. They mopped it up and literally parked it at the central bank. It's never happened before in our history. It's what they call the shock approach to achieve that number of 3.3. That is what the governor is now saying, that the mop-up exercise has cost him about 17 billion cedis to bring it down to 3.3. But you see, that is to remove money from the system. It hasn't dealt with the cost of production, because electricity is going up, labor is going up, other inputs in production. Fees and charges, as you have rightly mentioned, in some cases more than even 100%. So the consequence is that you will see 3.3 inflation, and you have rightly said that the first problem you are worried about is that, however, in the market, effective demand has gone down. A lot of people are telling you they don't have money to be able to buy. It's because of the method they are using.
The guy is just playing around words. He's just playing around words. Sterilization. Onwankasa admitted in his statement, say, when the government came into power, when the Bank of Ghana governor came into office, 60 billion every in a buy. 62 billion na a good system ni muna na achoki system. No, where did it come from? I thought you were going to say the Bank of Ghana came and pumped 60 billion into the system. But you see, he was playing with words. He moved away from there and said, oh, they mopped it up. Now, where did the 62 billion, a begu system, a choking system, where did it come from? You are talking about charges. You are talking about electricity. You are talking about people not going for the money. The question here is, how did we end up with 60 billion in the market, which was not doing anything in the market? How did we end up with 60 billion? He did not talk about that. He quickly moved away from that because do you understand me? It is OTL customer. He was just playing with words because he's doing politics. The question here is, if you want us to understand and believe what you are saying now, the 62 billion you were saying, say, mop up the money in the system. The Bank of Ghana mopped the money. They took the money out of the system. What was that money doing in the system? And the question is, if that money was in the system, how were you going to get rid of that money? Did you want the money to magically disappear? How were you going to get rid of it? Because remember, if you allow that money to stay in the system, your system is choked. Now, people are not coming for the money. So how do you drive the economy? The question is simple. How do you drive the economy? You are talking about mop up of 60 billion. Where did the 60 billion come from? Because if you want to mop up 60 billion from the system, you need to understand it's going to come with a cost. You made a loss of just closing down banks. Now, you put in 60 billion illegal money in the system. That has caused a lot of stalemate in the system. You expect people to try and fix that problem without incurring some cost? No, because every single money cedi you take out of the system, it means you are going to pay the cost for it. So who created the 62 billion in the first place? This is a biochemistry student too. He knows nothing about economy. He's just foolish. He's throwing words around. Let me show you something. Because you're full with it, Ghana. You see this? Step by step, how they mop up liquidity. Brofran Okano, Mami Jujo Munchile P34. Mop up. The question is, the 62 billion, where did they come from? It is the 62 billion MPP4 Bawumiamu Chagu system nim a choke system no. Now, if you want to understand the mop now kana any step by step how they mop up liquidity. Step 1, they detect too much money in the system. So when you detect too much money in the system, you find a way to get some of the money out of the system. Because if you don't do that, your economy is going to crash. It's going to be stuck. And if the governor and the Bank of Ghana had not done that, the $60 billion cedis now, system, it would have crashed the economy. Because now, there's no space to do any business. People are not going to come for long.
We ain't some ahodua, it's me cause or channel so. Mammy, and what's so jim re ohad, sene, so bad in the nubi edomini, onia, you be saying a share.